Good evening, everyone. Once again, I'm Rakhi Gautam from greytHR, the moderator for this Parichay webinar series. Thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome to all of you on our 101st episode of this Parichay webinar series. It's because of you that we have been able to do so many sessions, so many insights being shared, and thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful journey with us. Now, today, we will be exploring a topic that is central to the success of any retail organization, which is human resource in retail, driving business success through people strategy. Now, before I dive into the topic, let me quickly take you all through the agenda. So the first part will be the discussion with our expert, which will then be followed by an audience Q&A. So audience Q&A is where time is all yours. You can start putting across your questions in the panel that you can see on your Zoom screen, and we will be taking those questions towards the end. Also, the session is currently being recorded, so if you happen to miss out on anything, do not worry at all. We've got you covered. We will share the recording with you once the session is complete, and you will have an email from us by next week. Also, as I informed in the beginning, if there is anybody who you think would benefit from this session, you can still share this live link with them and they should be able to join us. Now, I think we have the quorum with us. And as I always say, let's make the session a lot more engaging and interactive. It's not just transactional. We'll not just hear insights from our experts, but we would also love to hear your perspective on this topic and keep sharing those comments and feedback in the comment section. Now, coming to the topic, which is HR in retail. Now, we all know HR, retail sector is a fast-paced, dynamic sector where HR plays a key role in shaping business outcomes. From ensuring workforce stability to enhancing employee productivity, HR decisions have a direct impact on profitability and sustainable growth. And in this session today, we will be exploring how HR strategies influence key metrics such as sales per employee and labor costs, and also discuss innovative ways for you that you at your organization can drive for measurable business success. And of course, to guide us through this conversation today, we have with us Mr. Kalappa KB, Chief People Officer at ChaiPoint India. Now, I would also like to share with you all that ChaiPoint has been a customer of greytHR since 2017, and it's been indeed a great journey with them. And I'm sure Mr. Kalappa would, be adding a lot more on how we are transforming HR practices together for ChaiPoint. Now, before we get into that, let me quickly take you all through Mr. Kalappa's profile. So Mr. Kalappa is currently associated with ChaiPoint India as Chief People Officer, overseeing talent acquisition, learning and development, employee engagement, compensation and benefits, leadership initiatives, and overall organizational development. He has over 2.5 decades of experience in areas such as talent management, HR digitization, culture building, mentoring, coaching, training, and development. Prior to ChaiPoint, he led HR functions at DM Esther Healthcare India and has extensive experience in the hospitality sector too. Thank you so much, Mr. Kalappa, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you for inviting Rakhi. Really appreciate it, and a pleasure to be here as well.
Thank you so much. Now, I think we can get started because I'm sure our audience is expecting a lot more insights on this topic today. So, to set up the context and talk about HR's role in retail profitability is, of course, gaining a lot of attention of late as well. And in your view, why is it so critical for HR to align closely with business metrics such as sales, productivity, and operational efficiency in the retail space?
All right. You kind of started off a conversation by saying that retail is very agile, quick, faster paced. If you don't open a store in the morning at 6 o'clock, you lost the business, right? Very, very simple. All of the business can wait till people come to the office versus this business can't wait till people come to the office. Somebody has to take the call then and there itself, right? So that's where, I would say fast-paced, very agile. So you need a different, tandem in terms of how you operate the business. So hence, along with the business, if HR don't join hands, we would run unprofitable business, and obviously business is not going to, I would say, succeed. While that being said, I talked about store not being open on time. If an employee doesn't turn up to open the store, if the human capital doesn't come in, you lost the business. So you always are on the toes to ensure that people come on time. People have been looked after well. People are motivated to come to work. If you wake up, if you don't feel like working, then you lost this business. This business is all about passion. This business is all about service. This business is all about people. So I would say that, I would kind of coin to say that people are number one resource, specifically in the service as a business is concerned. And they're a number one resource, and we need to pretty much do everything possible to look after them. And motivation is absolutely, if the threshold is 10, people's motivation has to be at 10, and HR has a huge role to play in terms of ensuring people are motivated absolutely, to ensure that we partner with the business. If you don't partner with the business, those days have gone, where HR does the HR process and not really looking at the business. Whoever has coined this concept called HRBP, HR business partner, is so apt, because if HR doesn't understand the business in the current day and age and time, those business would not be doing well. So
thank you so much for that, Mr. Kalappa, and very valid. And I'm sure this would have resonated a lot with our audience as well. And I just want to reiterate on the fact that now we have HRBP, which is, Human Resources Business Partners, because HR's role has, moved away from that, traditional role of just maintaining, compensation, releasing payroll on time, using Excel sheets, but rather than them being partners and driving business growth today. And you rightly mentioned that when it comes to, of course, for any organization, people are assets. People is what you invest on, right, to get the kind of business growth that you need. And in retail, it all, it stays true for all times, because as you said, if the store doesn't open at 8, the business is gone, right? So thank you so much for setting the context for this discussion today, and we'll be covering a lot more how we can give and provide the kind of employee experience that we need today, especially for retail employees. Now, before we go on to that, I just want to ask my audience today as to which HR metric do they feel have the most direct impact on retail business performance. And I'm just going to launch a poll for that. And for everybody in the audience, please, this is not, of course, right or wrong question, but this is a question. Okay, just a moment. I'm just trying to find the poll. Okay, just give me a moment and I'll launch. But in the meantime, for anybody if they have any questions, please feel free to add in the chat bot while I add in the question for you. So let me ask you one question, and then you can also ask me one question. Of course, not me, but Mr. Kalappa here. But let me just, in the meantime, add this. And of course, this question is not about, if it's a right or a wrong answer from you, but it is about to understand your perspective as to what you think is driving or having the most impact in business growth today when it comes to HR. Okay, and let
okay, I also want to add one other thing, probably, while I kind of did mention about motivation and so on and so forth. Also, the HR's ability to understand P&L, the way the business understands the P&L, is very, very important. Because if you don't understand the P&L, you will not be able to take decision which is balanced between the HR and the business. You will kind of do things what you think is right, but however, business expectation will be very, very different. That is where I think HR also has a role to understand the business the way business understands the business, which means ideally understanding how to read a P&L and what are the different cost lines against the revenue, and what ticks and what doesn't tick, and where is the lever which HR can operate upon. So the P&L of be it the store or the business as a whole also can influence the overall business of the company. So I think that's the other point which I want to add.
No, very valid. In fact, our topic is about how we can drive profit, and until we understand the business goals and strategies, HR's would not be able to do that. So it's important to have that synergy, of course, between HR and business leaders today. So I'm just going to launch the poll now. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. And here is the question. Which HR metric do you feel has the most direct impact on retail business performance? Is it sales per employee? Is it labor cost optimization? Or is it employee engagement? As I said, it's not a right or a wrong question, just to understand your perspective. And we have some 80 of you here. That's a great number, and we would want all of you to participate. So please engage and let us know what you think. Okay, 60% of you have participated. What about the rest of you? Okay, I'll end the poll now and I'll share the response with everybody. So it says 48% are nearing on employee engagement, which will have the most impact. 29% say sales per employee, and 33% say labor cost optimization. So thank you so much, everybody, for your insights. As we said, this is not a right or wrong question, but we got your perspective on this, and we'll, of course, also take Mr. Kalappa's perspective on this now. So, in retail, Mr. Kalappa, HR, we discussed this, and you just, also highlighted about the profit and loss when it comes to HR and retail, right? So HR decisions directly influence key metrics, and we saw sales per employee and labor cost and employee engagement. But from your experience, per se, which HR interventions have had the most significant impact on improving these outcomes?
Right. I think before I get to, I can see that all the audience have kind of polled it. Employee engagement has kind of come in first. But I want to kind of go a couple of steps back to say that when you recruit people, you need to have an idea to say that what is the total cost, okay, what's the revenue for this store versus what is the cost which has been proposed, and at what point in time is the break even being expected, which means if my employee cost is hypothetically 1 lakh rupees, if the revenue expected is minimum 4 lakh to break even, my employee cost can't be at 1.5 lakh, right? Because I can't bring in people who are heavyweights, where the plan was to have an employee cost of 1 lakh versus revenue of 4 lakh. Because I have an employee cost of 1.5 lakh, which means the business has to sweat so much to bring more business to break even, right? I would say if we get the recruitment piece right, the talent acquisition piece right, the fine balance between what is expected versus what is the achievement which is required from a business angle. I, as an HR guy, is very easy to say that I would want to ensure that the employee cost is, instead of 1 lakh, I want to go with 1.5 lakh, which is very, very easily said and done. But the business has got such a tough job to kind of get that additional revenue to come in, which is not easy. In the current scheme of things where competition is cutthroat, everybody's scavenging on each other, we need to balance between what is required from the business and from people. So I would say, first, if you get the recruitment piece right, then probably motivation of the employees, keeping their morale really high up is absolutely important, because if you get their morale right, if you get there, if people, when they wake up, if they feel like working, if they're coming to work, you're absolutely sorted. But obviously a lot of work behind the scene. But probably I would say, get the recruitment piece right, get the right talent to be on board. You have the cost on your mind, what is the revenue to be achieved. That's where I'm just saying that HR has to think the way business thinks. We can't be thinking different, and then do everything possible to prep up people, motivate people, at the at every level. So I think that's the balance. All of the things would be taken care.
No, definitely. And I being an employee, right, I completely agree with you on this, because when, an employee, we often talk about an employee's journey, but we often fail to discuss or, focus more on the candidate experience also that we provide. And you brought in recruitment, you brought in talent acquisition, which is so very important, because, as you said, this is not like one conversation between HR and an employee. It's conversations with the candidate who then later turns into an employee. at every different standpoint. So when you first give the call to the first round of interview, to the feedback, then onboarding, and then once they are brought into the system, how they are being engaged is very important. And thank you so much for highlighting this, because yes, I would want to show up to work if I'm feeling motivated, if I feel that my work is being recognized, if I feel that I'm getting the right support from my mentors, from my organization, if I'm you know being compensated well. That's always a point, right? So thank you so much for bringing
So
this.
I also
And
just want to add one other
right,
point. I think, in all those things, respect come first.
right.
Those days have gone that you treat somebody at the rank and file like shit, because you think that people at the top is so important. And today, for example, we are having a session in our office, and it's called Train the Trainer program. And I told people that you are the reason why this company is operating today, and not the people who are sitting in this office. Right? The people at the store, the people at the ground, the people at the front line are the people who's making the difference. Respect has huge influence on people, because people would work where there is respect. There are people who stick back with the managers because they know that they've been treated really, really well. And you've been offered 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees more, but somebody who kind of plays you football, with you, and they're not going to last longer. So I think, with all this what I mentioned, I think treating human beings like human beings is very important. And that's where the concept of the so-called Westerners started this concept, calling people by first name. The reason they started keep calling people by first name is you break the barrier between you and your manager. Sir and madam is only to the customers. That's typically what I tell people. Everybody else has to be called by first name, because you need to break the barrier, make it simple, make them accessible.
No, definitely. And thank you so much for putting this so wonderfully, because yeah, this also reminds me of all the DEIB conversations and initiatives that are happening at the workplace today. And this is so very important. Respect comes first. And if you're respected, if you feel that, you feel that you're belonged at a workplace, you will definitely, deliver your 200%. So that's there. And I'm sure audiences also agree, because I see a lot of reactions. So thank you so much for that. Now, before I move on to my next question, I just have a very interesting comment from one of our attendees. This is from Madhu BS, and she says HR, of course, is no more business partner. They are now the business. So true, Madhu, and I also agree with that. So thank you for sharing that comment, and for all the other participants also, keep sharing those insights and comments and questions, and we'll be taking them up towards the end. Now, coming back to you, Mr. Kalappa, talking in terms of ChaiPoint right now, and what all you're doing at ChaiPoint, and I see and I hear a lot of innovative programs, L&D initiatives that you all are running at ChaiPoint today. Could you give us a quick overview of course, first ChaiPoint, and then share how HR contributes to shaping business strategy and driving growth within the organization, not just keeping doing the transactional work, but also then contributing to the numbers at the top?
Right. I think before I kind of answer that question, I want to kind of I want to rejig my memory a couple of years back. I worked with the hotels for 10 years. I worked with the healthcare for close to 12, 13 years. And while with healthcare, I had an opportunity to incubate three different businesses, a retail pharmacy, a lab retail, and a digital company. So while incubating these businesses, I realized that retail is so quick and fast, whereas hospital and hotels are slightly lethargic. And tomorrow decision can be taken, nothing will happen, because you are housing everybody under the one room. So a lot more easier, right? So if I kind of look back today, because I had an opportunity to incubate three new businesses, it gave me a sense of what retail is all about. That's when I decided that my next jump has to be with retail, because I kind of complement really well with what happens with the retail, because quick and fast and agile, right? So, and then here I come work with this QSR organization, which is 15 years old in India. We are a Bangalore-based company, based out of Bellandur. We got 150 stores. That's the one line of business for us. We have got 170 ChaiPoint stores in India currently. And a typical, we are based out of captives, which is tech parks. We are based out of hospitals, hotels. We are in high streets and so on and so forth. That's the first line of business. The second line of business for us is brewing bots. Just for all the audience, info, we are the first people to vend a chai through a machine across the globe, not just in India, right? people are used to seeing coffee being churned in a machine. Italians and Swiss and Americans have done it at least a century ago. We were the first people to vend a chai through a machine. And that's a second line of business for us, which is a big business for us. And I'm sure you all see ChaiPoint machine in various locations and so on and so forth. That machine is, I would call Rolls Royce. In an automobile space, how Rolls Royce is the machine. Similarly, that's a Rolls Royce for us, because our machines are tech heavy. Our machines are actually does what you actually do at home. If you kind of take time to prepare your tea and coffee, what process goes through. Similarly, a machine does exactly the same when you press the button in a 30 seconds to 1 minute, right? And third, all our machines are digitally savvy. We have an LED screen which is actually showing up for the employee engagement piece. So, while we serve our customers with tea and coffee and so on and so forth, we also talk about an employee engagement piece on that front. Third, we are also a tech company. The reason I say we are a tech company is because we know, sitting here, if there is a machine which has been installed in Microsoft Hyderabad, we know how much of a coffee, tea, water, milk, sugar, everything consumed sitting in Bangalore, because it is all on IoT, right? And the software which runs in our store, which is called Point of Sale, is a homegrown product for us. And we also work with Swiggy, Zomato, Rapido, so on and so forth. The engine which runs behind all this is again a homegrown product. So we are a food and beverage company with a twist of tech. That's how we call it as. Yeah, we are 15 years old, and we are looking forward for an IPO probably in next 18, 19 months from now. Yeah, so I think, how we kind of look at, ChaiPoint as an organization is, QSR is such a crowded place currently. Everybody who has got money invest in, in the retail space of QSR. There is so much of an opportunity. Just to give some stats to people, out of 142 crore Indians, 70% people drink chai in India. Out of 30%, 10% drink coffee, 10% drink all kind of aerated drink, 10% don't drink anything. We were the first organized player in India to have this business way back in 2010. We are 14 years old. Yeah, so I think that's about the company's, I would say, point of view. And from an angle of, sorry, your second question was
Yes,
on.
from, now that, and I would just want to say congratulations to great work done. And just a little anecdote, I went out with my sister yesterday, and the first thing that she said was, we need to go to ChaiPoint and have a cup of tea. So chai is an emotion in India, and, it's great to have the taste of it at ChaiPoint also. It's a whole lot of experience. Now, you spoke about a lot of things, right? What ChaiPoint is doing at different standpoints, right? But now that there's so much business and there's different line of businesses that we are catering to, how does HR come into the picture and sort of integrate all of it together and contribute to people's strategy when, it's a retail sector, but then again, it's just so diverse, right? So what role does HR play in, keeping the numbers up and keeping the people and employee engaged?
Right. Because we have three line of business, and we're very closely attached to two line of business. One is the retail, which is the stores, and the second is brewing bots. That's a second line of business for us. We are very closely associated. I want to give an example to you. How does a store work? For example, we opened a store last week, right? When we open a store, first we get an info to say that what's the footfalls people expect, what's the revenue expected, and then we determine what's the cost has to be ideally, right? Once all those things are kind of aligned, our business is all about people. If you don't get the people piece right, you get the entire business wrong. Those days have gone. People will join a brand because it's an amazing brand. Today, people join people, right? People join people, and people work for people. Being an HR guy, I can very, very strongly say that people work for people, because if you work with certain individual, your growth is taken care, your ability to perform better, you're always pushed to kind of do well. So what we do when we open I would say store is, first we try and get a store manager who has an acumen, who has the business sense to run the place. Once you get the store manager right, and then we get the rest of the people on board. For example, we have a threshold to open a store. For example, we would say that ideally we want to operate the store from, say, morning 7 o'clock to evening 8 o'clock. We will only have 2 shifts. Ideally, we want to have only 4 people, which means the threshold people to run the business. So Just because a business asks us, give us 5 or 6 people, we don't do that because you don't know how the business is going to trend. So that is where we partner so closely with the business to say that let's let's take one piece at a time. Let's get the 4 people on board, train them, let them know the know-how and the understanding of how the business operates. As and when the business ticks, we slowly and steadily will give you people who can complement you. So that is where we work so closely, and not just going away with the sentiment of ops to say that no, we need 5 people, we need 6 people, because we expect business to come in. That is where we also been like acting as a businessman to tell people that in the past our record says that business slowly trickles in. So hence, let's not to overload people and burden the store. Let's only bring people to cater to the current level of business so that we are not shutting the store. Second is, training plays a very important role for us because you have only 4 or 5 people who manage the store. Now, we all talk about P&L heads, the great companies being handled by successful business leaders, so on and so forth. Just understand, running a Microsoft is also very, very similar. Running a store is also very similar because both have P&L. And the guy who's at the 2 or 3 or 4 year of experience should have an exposure to P&L. That is where the beauty is. There are so many people who would have had n number of years of experience, still don't understand P&L, versus a guy in a store who's working for 3 or 4 years, maybe a 10th or a 12th, really understand what ticks the business. So that is where the second piece comes in terms of our induction, our certification, conducting. We call something as building block. We have a trajectory of things, what we do with people, and until they're certified, we kind of don't elevate them, don't get them to the next level. So obviously training plays a lot of role. I think the last piece, what people need to understand, people go to a store because there is someone in the store who's going to make you feel very important. If I know that Raki is coming to the store, if I say, Raki, how are you doing today? And can I serve your regular cup of chai, which is, the ginger chai, which is liked by you, you will walk into that place because you wanted to be made feel important, right? Those days have gone that I've got a great infrastructure, I have a great product, but I have a dud standing inside the store. Your store is going to fail miserably. All business within our business are run by people, and people are the most important piece, which I've kind of envisaged and re-emphasized. So people in the store who make the business for us. So training plays a lot of important roles. But before that, getting the right person for the right role is also very important. And we typically try and get the mix of men and women into the place because women are equally important for us, and they handle customers so well in most cases. Probably somebody wants to complain, they want to complain because there's a woman who's standing and handling the customer at the front end. So I think that's the essence of how we operate a store for us, and that's the first level of business. The second level of business is the brewing board business, which is a large business for us. We work with probably the top 100 companies in the country today, from Accenture to Microsoft to WeWork, CoWork, all kind of consulting companies we work with. Now, we have an employee who's dispensing a tea or a coffee there. And I remember after I joined this company, one day, one of our employees did not turn up in Hyderabad Microsoft office. And the employee is calling up their admin team and saying that, how come we don't have a tea or a coffee today, right? And then, one of our employee kind of came late to the place. We had to kind of rush and get them. So which means most offices don't start without having that sip of coffee or a tea. That is where a purpose of the company, which we say that we want to serve that great cup, enlighten people and bring people together. That's the whole purpose of the company, and that's our tagline of the purpose. So I think in both the cases, in both the businesses, people are important for us. We work very closely. And I think the quality of the people who we choose absolutely makes a difference for us. Understanding the business, understanding the P&L has become a hygiene factor today, because you can't brag and say that our HR folks understand P&L as much as a business, because that has become a most hygiene factor today. Because if you don't have all this, you can't operate food and beverage business.
Oh, definitely. And thank you so much for that very comprehensive and insightful answer, Mr. Kalappa. And I do agree, right? When it's very important to also, and not just for retail, I think for all organizations, very important for every individual employee to understand how they're contributing to, business growth. Until I know, okay, this is my role and this is how I'm adding value to my organization's goals, I will not be able to perform and I will not be able to go into the right direction. So, you started off with telling them, okay, this is your role and this is how you are contributing, plays a huge, huge factor. Then, of course, training comes into the picture. Regular trainings, regular upskilling and reskilling programs are very, very important for, employees to perform the best and to also keep them engaged and have that constant feedback mechanism that is there. Because for any business, and especially for retail, people are the faces of an organization, right? You interact with employees from a fresher to somebody who's in a senior leadership role, and all that matters is how your customer is being treated. You talked about that. So thank you so much for enlightening us on how HR, is playing a big role in business strategy today, business growth today, and it is no longer a traditional, role. It's more strategic. There's more involvement, and we're looking at the numbers now. You also talked about how data plays a significant role, right? We understand the data now. Gone are the days where we would just make decisions based on, like you said, oh, we need 5 employees, we just get them. Now we look at the data of the previous stores that were opened or the kind of performance that we generated in a quarter, and then see how we can take insights from those from that data and make those decisions when it comes to our people. So thank you so much for adding so much value to this question. Now before I move on to the
Sorry,
next
I just
question,
have one point to add, probably while you're talking, I kind of remembered.
right.
And I always kind of keep telling this to my folks as well. 50% of the battle is won when you get the right person on board.
Right.
We are, for example, what we do typically in our business here is I'm only looking at industry or other sector fit where the skill is very, very critical. Otherwise, I am always looking for people from the function and not from the industry, because I don't want any baggage for people to come and say that, I've done this in the past, I've done this in the, I don't want to replicate any other business. I want to kind of, probably cultivate the ChaiPoint business, right? So I always look for people, who has the function and not the industry. Only where is industry agnostic, that's where I would get people from industry, because it kind of gives you so much cross pollination, so much of an idea. Otherwise, you're pretty much stuck with the four walls to say that this is exactly what happens in the retail or a QSR, versus someone comes from some other business and tells you that you could also look at things from a very different angle. That is where I kind of strongly feel that 50% of the battle is won when you have good people on board. Another 50% you need to kind of baptize them, train them, teach them, which is a lot more easier to do. At least they have a lot of common sense. They are smart. You need smarter people in the business, very simply put.
No, very, very true. And in fact, you talked about cross-pollination. That is one thing that I'm going to take away from this conversation, specifically from this answer today, because it's so very important. We also talk about having a diverse workforce, not from, like in terms of genders or in terms of, regions they are coming from, but also from experiences. And it's very important that we as HR managers, as talent acquisition managers, don't sort of restrict our, reach when we are looking for capable people to join us and join our organizations, until there are, of course, specific requirements. It's always the people that we bank on, and it's the people that get the business going and succeeding at that. So thank you for this. Now, moving on, before I move on to the next question, I just have a quick poll for my audience, where we want to understand from you all, which HR initiative do you think drives the highest impact on retail profitability? Right? And we've been talking about this in our conversation so far, but to understand from our audience also, let me just quickly launch the poll. So the options that you have is training and development, employee engagement programs, recruitment and retention strategies, and technology-enabled workforce management. So according to you, it's not a right or a wrong question. I want to reiterate, this is just to understand your perspective. And which initiative do you think would have the highest impact? Okay, 25% of you have already participated. The rest of you, please engage. Please, share which option do you think is the most suitable. And also, now that we are sort of nearing the end of our discussion, I just have a couple of questions, and then we will move on to your questions. So any questions that you have from your end, which is not already discussed, because I would like to believe that we are having a very substantial conversation today, and there's just so much insights being shared. But anything specific that you would also want to understand, you can now start adding your questions in the Q&A, and we will take them up very soon. Okay, I will end the poll now and share this with all of you. Okay, so 31% say training and development would have the most impact, 29% technology-enabled workforce management, 24% recruitment and retention strategies, and 16% employee engagement programs. Now, of course, first of all, thank you so much for participating in this. And according to me, I think and I'm looking at it from an employee perspective. So all four of these options would have impact on me, functioning as an employee. But we'll also understand from Mr. Kalappa his views on this. I'm just going to, state one report that was recently released in 25 from Mercer India HR Trends report, and it shows that voluntary attrition has improved from 12.4% in 2020 to 12.4% in 2024, and it's an improved number now, which is great to see that. And I think safe to say that now maybe employee experience has improved over the years. We are giving the right tools, the right mindset for employees to grow in an organization, for them to feel engaged, to deliver the best, because that's why this number has improved. But to talk about some strategies that our audience can also implement, and we have a lot of HR managers joining us in this session today, Mr. Kalappa, some strategies that you can share with us that will build a stable, engaged, and a loyal, or maybe not loyal, might not be the right word, maybe a workforce that simply loves the organization that they work at. And of course, some L&D initiative that you would want to share here.
Right. That's a brilliant question. I don't think there is one recipe or a mantra which actually works. It's a permutation combination of too many things. I would say, while I would talk about few things, what we kind of do here to kind of ensure that our workforce is engaged. We all need to understand is retail is such a high attrition business, across. If somebody comes and tells you that we are at 10%, 8%, people, may not be correct, because this is such a competitive market and people have jobs left, right, and center. And I keep telling people that India is filled with retail business. You can skip from QSR to consumer durable to apparel to XYZ, because opportunities are huge. People are marketable as long as you have a profile, you have a communication skills, you have a basic knowledge and skills available with you. Now, some of the things what we do is, one, our induction, as a part of the engagement, we ensure that our induction is absolutely done properly, and not pulling people straight away into the business, without understanding head or tail of the business. Putting them into the fire is not ideally a right way to do things. So hence we spend time in terms of inducting people, explaining them what the organization is all about. And then most importantly, what is in for people if they stick around with us? Because once you understand what is in for people, most people kind of know that I've joined a place which is, at least I can see some future, or probably I can make effort to create the future. That's first. Second, once induction is done, I think you can't do away with this terminology called training. If you think that you're going to train people, somebody is going to take away them after 6 months or 1 year, you are not in the right place. Training is a very, very important part, because service is all about people. Service is all human touch. While I understand technology can come into a space of software development and so on and so forth, even I hear that there is a restaurant in Bangalore, you have robo coming and serving, or those are on the conveyor belt, all your dishes come through a conveyor belt. All those things are good gimmick. People go to a place to eat because there is a personal touch from a human being, right? So you can't take away this business without people. So which means training people, giving them all the skills which is required to handle the customer service is very, very important. I would want to go to a place where I've been recognized by a steward or a person there, and I know that if I raise my hand, somebody quickly comes and gives my whatever. Probably the food may not be great, but I'm happy that I've been made to feel important in this place. Can you imagine when I go with my family members, when I know that there is someone who's ready to take care of me, calls me by first name. Calling name is a very, very important thing in our business, right? You recognizing the customer. Third thing, we also do something called I Appreciate. And I Appreciate is a card which is available with all managers and above. When you see someone, not necessarily in the store, even in our other businesses, even in our office, when somebody is sitting across contributing to something, for example, I'm leaving at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock from the office, and I see someone who's sitting there and doing something and When I ask him, what are you doing? If he says that, there is a report which I need to submit tonight because my boss has got a meeting tomorrow, and I think this guy is going beyond to deliver something. So he gets an I appreciate card. For example, we see a customer who walked into the store, not happy with the beverage or a food which is being served. And immediately our employee understands that this customer is not happy, and he goes back and says that, is there any way can I help you? Can I serve you something else? When he recovers out of a problem, we go and give him an I appreciate card. So I appreciate is given to someone who adds value to the customer service, who add value to business, who adds value to, for example, one of my colleagues is unwell. We both have come to shift and he's unwell. Do I have a guts to tell him that you please go home, take rest, I will manage your shift today? That is also going beyond. So there are 4 or 5 things. When people go over and above that, we give them an I appreciate card, and this card demands 50 rupees when you get this card, which means people collect this card, they redeem at the end of the year. We have various mechanisms to redeem. That's one way of ensuring right behavior is displayed by people. Initially we said that 100 rupees or 150 or 200 rupees, because then people always, whenever they saw managers, they went beyond to do something extraordinary. After some time we've withdrawn and we kind of brought it to 50. Now it has actually become slightly part and parcel of everybody's normal life, right? Second, we also have something called Star of the Quarters, which is typically being run in a lot of organizations, where again, one of the criteria is people adding to customer service, people adding to employee, helping employees, people adding to cost saving, people going and changing a particular process. For example, I do a process in a step of 1 to 10, which takes 4 days. If an employee comes and tells that I can do the same process in 3 days, that's a innovation for us. So if they do any of these 5 things, again, they deserve to be an I appreciate card. And similarly, we also qualify them to become a Star of the Quarter, where they kind of get an X amount of voucher. And there is a shusha which happens in a town hall. They've been called upon. There is an email which goes. There is a postcard which is being created. That's a second one which we actually do. The third thing what we're doing is, which we recently started, probably I don't want to dwell too much into it. I probably want to give a little flavor. We're actually running a program called Learn While We Earn. Now, what we need to understand is that not everybody is privileged to go to a school or a college to the best of the places where the parents can fund this. We have people from Northeast, from South, from Karnataka to every part of the corner of the country, people with 10th and 12th, they couldn't study because the family simply couldn't afford their education. We have tied up with a particular university as a part of the NSDC, where a 10th standard can become a diploma graduate in 2 years, a diploma in QSR in 2 years if he works with us. And our L&D team takes them through a structured program, which we aligned with National Council for Vocational Training and the UGC. We structured a program along with this university. Our people, all the HR people, teach them every week. There is a structured program and course which happens. After 2 years, there is an assessment which happens. 70% of the mark is given on practical, 30% of the mark is given for theoretical, and they have the same diploma which National Council for Vocational Training gives for any ITI or any other diploma, the same body giving the same certificate for them. Even for a 12th standard who's a graduate, if they stays with us for 2 years, they also would get a graduation certificate, but obviously it's not easy. Only thing is they need not spend 50,000 or a lakh rupees to pay as a fees. The bare minimum they pay is 1,500 bucks every month, right? And all the facilitator, professor, so-called tutors, everybody is L&D and HR team who's actually doing all this stuff with people. Now, when we call up the family members to tell them that, we have enrolled your kid to become a diploma or a graduate, they're related. They're related. And the first question they ask is, how much money are you spending? When we tell them only money they're going to spend is 1,500 bucks. So the reason we also influence the family members, because if they're looking for another job, let the family member tell them that, listen, boss, you are going through an studies which is organized, which is given by UGC or NCTVT. Otherwise, we can't afford you all this. Now, I am not just helping these people to gain knowledge structure. I'm looking at to grow. I'm looking at them to make them marketable, not just with ChaiPoint. I'm not selfish to say that if they work with me for 2-3 years, I'm fine. I want them to grow. I want them to acquire better jobs. I'm also giving them, in fact, we also allied with an American institute to run a course on food and beverage so that they can be marketable even in the Middle East. So that is something which we run. A lot more detailing is involved. I kind of explained you in 2-3 lines, probably me and my team's time has taken for last 1 year to coin this, carve this out, and we think that this is a game changer, simply put.
Definitely. And thank you so much for sharing these innovative ways of how you are literally transforming the lives of young people, especially in India, through these L&D initiatives that you're driving at ChaiPoint. And it's commendable to see. And I'm sure, you know, these are the strategies that help us retain employees, that help us give them the right kind of experience that they're looking at from an organization, giving them the right, direction to grow in their careers. So thank you so much for highlighting this. And we're just coming to the end of the discussion. I just have one last question with me. And I think I can say this for all, that we cannot have any conversation today, be it, not just from HR or workplace or, business dynamics, but also in general, like, conversations that we have with our families, with our friends today on different topics without having to talk about technology. Technology has become such an integral part of our lives that it's so much as that when we wake up, first thing in the morning that we do is pick up our phone and just check if there are any messages or anything like that, right? So technology has become a part of our lives, and it's amazing to see that it's not just the young generations or the people living in urban areas using technology, using mobile phones, but it's across generations. We have even our, I'm sure 70% of our grandparents would be using a smartphone today, and would know how to use Google, or you use technology for that matter. So now bringing in HR technology, and we've discussed this in detail in the past in other conversations as well, but I just want to understand from you what kind, and I'm sure it's a transformational role that technology plays, especially in retail HR, right? So uh, we know that greytHR, of course, is partner of ChaiPoint. So if you could shed light on how you are able to transform your HR practices, redefine your HR strategies with the right technology that you're using today.
I'm sure all HR folks who is there online today, they all know that you can't survive without an HRMS, right? Which is agile, which is a lot more easy to use. I would use that word because in last 2.5 decade, I've seen enough dozens of HRMS, and I've also been party to building something on my own in my previous organization, which we ran for a couple of years. So I know that you can't survive without technology. Now, how much a technology is important is a big question mark because there's no limit, right? For example, while we are using Great HR for a longer period of time, and I have personally worked on Oracle, I personally worked on SAP, I personally worked on Adrenaline. I can name enough dozen number of HRMS, right? Now, for an organization like ours, it's very important that I can't bring in a HRMS which is so expensive, it takes away half of my cost because I'm also concerned about it. I'm not adamant about to go and tell people that, our HRMS is incomplete or full. We need an Oracle to come into play because I've seen all the HRMS which is around. And I would appreciate the fact that you need an HRMS which makes life easier to people because without that, you can't survive. You need something which is easy to maneuver, easy to figure out, and then which also complements all your decision making. I think today's age in time, all decisions are taken based on data, and I want to use this adage: what get measured will get done, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. Very simply put, if you have to measure something, you need to have a data to measure it. So I would say, if I look at Great HR from my point of view, because we've been using that, it's a great tool with what we use. And I've also recently explored the performance management. And I want to tell you that having seen half a dozen of HRMS, the performance management is why I was very, very impressed because it was in very much similar lines with what SAP has done, from a dictionary to all the things which is available. So I would say last not but the least, because while I'm an HR guy, I understand finance enough because I'm also a party to review a P&L and so on and so forth every month on month. Um, I would say Great HR is also friendly on the pocket when I compare to dozens of HRMS which is there in the market, right? I think I would say that without technology, you can't survive. Probably how much of a technology is important for you is I would leave everybody's imagination to decide where you should end and where you should start. But I think a company like yours comes in very handy for organization of mid-size, large scale. Today, every business is talking about cost. All those days have gone that I have deep pocket, I can go and invest left, right, and center. Today, everybody is looking at to squeeze in. Where is that I can reduce the cost so that my business looks a lot more effective? So I think just simple word, you can't survive without technology. And I'm happy to say that we are working with greytHR, and I have dozens of people approaching me that I am wanting to change to another HRMS. I can name a couple of them, but I think it all depends on, are you compatible? Are you happy with what you're doing? Are you kind of getting the support? So I think probably, that's where I would leave for people to kind of take a decision. But yes, this is a second nature, basic hygiene factor today as a technology, point of view. And you can add the suite from an ATS to be added, which is a lot more robust. Parsing system is so effective so that your talent acquisition is a lot more effective, or be it using a comp and ben product wherein all your data points are clearly set with what you wanted, be it from from a compare ratio to the age group of people, to the gender of people, um, including some predictive analysis to show that who would leave in next 3 months, 6 months, looking at various slice and dices. All this would actually complement, because that's where the world is heading towards.
Definitely. And thank you so much for that, Mr. Kalappa, and for all the kind words that you said about greytHR. And just wanted to reiterate and say that you talked about also talent acquisition and how you can sort of transform that, your recruitment through technology, performance appraisal. You talked about that PMS. You also talked about compliance, and just the work that we are also doing at greytHR is on all of that. So we always say that we recognize a problem that that HR especially faces today is to have all of this in one software solution. You don't have to go to different agencies for recruitment, for compliance, for payroll, for leave and attendance management. You can have all of this in one full suite HRMS, which is greytHR, and you can get all your hire to retire solutions done through that. We've also started integrating a lot of AI, because of course now there's HR technology and there's also artificial intelligence, in the systems now, and we have to have the right AI also to transform and to provide a better seamless experience for our, HR managers, for employees. We also have a mobile app that can be used by employees at any given point of time. And yes, so thank you so much for sharing all that you're able to also do with greytHR. And we're just so happy to be partnered with such a great organization like ChaiPoint, and adding a bit of flavor from the HR side of it. So thank you so much for that. Now, quickly coming to the audience Q&A, we have a few questions lined up, and we would definitely want to get your insights on that. The first question, of course, this is more like a statement, which is from Shashanka Chakrabarti. HR should be like a family member in workplace. Am I right? So I think yes.
I want to give an analogy to this. I think probably what Shashank mentioned is family. In ChaiPoint, we compare ourselves to a sports team, and we keep saying this: we will play the best 11 or 12 in the game, and not all the 20 or 30, right? Which means you require agility, fitness. You need to be healthy, first of all, for you to be in this business. Forget about anything else. Knowledge and everything is secondary. So we talk about this quite often to say that we are a sports team. We are not a family. Probably, I personally think that family days have gone in the 2000s, in the 90s. Today people talk about sports team, and sports team achieve great stuff at the ground, and most companies compare themselves to sports team, and we also kind of compare, and we say that the best 12 would play because we are playing to win.
Right.
There is no second guess about we don't want to win. We are playing to win. So probably my perspective is, you're a sports team. You're going to play the best 12 people, from mental peace to the physical fitness to are you absolutely there to play this business, right? So to play this game. So probably that's my perspective.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Kalappa. And thank you so much, Shashanka, for your question. Moving on to the next question, which is from Saujanya Lakshmi. We did touch upon this, but if you just want to, quickly summarize it in 2 sentences, maybe. How will you control attrition in the retail industry?
Such a humongous question, right? Now, probably I personally feel the game changer is the Learn While We Earn program. And there is this program I'm sure everybody using called NAPS. I've also tweaked the NAPS to the company's advantage. if you pay the stipend what government offers you, nobody will come and join you. So I've tweaked the entire NAPS program into a lot better height in terms of how to make it attractable for people to come and join us, and then stitch it along with the VWork and the BWork program. VWork is vocational training in diploma, BWork is bachelor's training in vocational. So I've kind of stitched all this. Probably as we speak, I am doing sessions after session, getting the HR guys absolutely to the terms what I am speaking. They need to exactly speak the same language. I think that's the way forward. Doing all the basic hygiene of, celebrating birthday, all those have become things of the past. We need to keep innovating to kind of ensure that people travel with us with the future, and the future looks to be very, very competitive. So we need to be tweaking, tuning all the time to look at what is required in the future. So I think, like I said, I've stitched this program. That's the future. If I, again, probably to answer that question, I'm not looking at attrition from the whole universe of people. I'm only looking at attrition from 0 to 365 days, because in retail, attrition between 0 to 365 days is very, very high comparatively. Somebody who spent 1.5 years, 2 years, they stick around with you. So my whole focus is between 0 to 365.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Kalappa. And I truly resonated with what you shared. There's a lot more focus that we need to do on L&D, and also give and provide the right kind of opportunities for employees, to stay and retain them in the company. So thank you for that. And thank you so much, Lakshmi, for your question. Moving on to the questions from Anuja. So she shared some 3 questions. I'm just going to read out. I think most of this are similar, and you can quickly sum this up. So first is, what's the biggest misconception business leaders have about HR's role in driving retail success? Second is, what new skills or mindsets would you believe retail employees and HR teams will need in the next 3 years? And how can HR employer store level managers to empower store level managers to become true culture carriers and people leaders, and not just operational supervisors?
Probably I'll pick the first thing first. It's not just now, probably since last 2 decades, I always believed that if I'm getting into a business, I need to understand the business from the founder or a CEO standpoint, right? If I don't understand the business from his standpoint, I would be doing things he will say, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. He will cut through everything because you're not aligned with him. So, within my team, what I've done is I've created an FAQs for every function in the company, right? If HR is sending 3 resumes, are people not only just interview people from the behavioral aspect, even the technical aspect? Because when you also interview people from a technical aspect, that is where our business leaders would think that, okay, so every person who comes into, for them for an interview, they say that 8 out of or 9 out of 10 times it goes through. It goes through because we are not just doing paper pushing business, right? We are not a clerk in an office to look at, JD fit, experience fit, salary fit, and then pushing it to the function to take the call. So I'm of the opinion that we need to have a say in who we're going to bring in, and not allow some nepotism to happen because my brother, my cousin, sister, who's going to come and join. So that is where I kind of aligned all my people and trained the people to learn all the technical aspect of every function, so that every resume which goes in, I've also asked my people to go back and ask, why have you rejected this person? What questions have you asked? What skill set are you looking at, which I haven't checked myself? That is where I kind of say that 8 out of 10 times the resume which goes through the HR has to go through the function as well. Otherwise, we will go back and quiz them to say, tell me, what are you looking for? What is that I missed and you missed? And now the business heads are saying that because we are also talking their language, even the technical terms, they can't just frivolously reject people because they're not their brother, sister, cousin, or whoever, right? That's the first thing I would want you to kind of understand. That's how business leaders align to say that we are serious about their business. It is not just them.
Right.
Sorry, I forgot the second question.
Second question is on what are the skill sets which will be required for HR and people in retail sector in the next 3 years?
I think you touched upon AI. I think that's the future. Probably every email which you're going to send, you're going to pass through a Perplexity or a chat GPT. Every presentation you're going to make, you're going to pass through it. Probably you require lesser people to run the business. For example, one of the example I would want to give, when I joined, we had 26 people in the HR, and I currently operate with 18 people while the business has grown. right? Simply put, I'm looking at everybody is 100% occupied in their job is my first question, including myself, right? Do I have enough meat in my work? Now, one of the things which I kind of check the status quo with every department is the first question when they ask for people, the first question they ask, tell me all your people are occupied thoroughly. Is there anyone who's twiddling thumbs and not figuring out what to do? Because if you have those kind of people, they will always look for when is my salary going to go up, which company should I apply, which friend should I call. So I think I would say that one of the skill is AI is definitely going to play a bigger role. Probably I also foresee after 40 people going to lose their job moving forward, because all the founders of the new age company would think that why should I hire a guy at 40 and pay 1 crore when I can hire the same guy at 27, 28, pay half the salary, which means we need to have additional skills available with us for us to be marketable, for us to still float in the market, and probably the kind of skill set available where companies will hire us. The last one is about, I think the future is all about do more with less. And I'm sure this is already there with most companies. I think that's going to be the name of the game. How are you going to do more with less people? Which means technology is going to be at the forefront in anything and everything you do, because people would say that, for example, my founder always tells me that, why do you need this person when you can ask the chat gpt or a perplexity to kind of answer this question for you? Why do you need this one? Because the presentation can be done by here. So I think it's already there. It's not coming, it's already there. It's everybody has to equip. It's like, probably I'm just saying, a couple of years back I used to think doctors and lawyers, doctors, lawyers has to always upgrade their knowledge because law is changing, they need to be standing in the court and answering. And I think that trend has come to even to the HR, that if you don't measure up today, if you don't equip yourself or upskill yourself, you'll be lost behind. Jobs will be taken away by people who holds the skill.
Right. So that means that we will be, we will have to work a lot on our skills. We'll have to upskill, reskill ourselves, and be at par with the technology, with the new trends which are coming up. So thank you for that, Mr. Kalappa. One last question from Anuja is, how can HR empower store level managers to become true culture carriers and people leaders, not just operational supervisors?
Right. I think, like I said, if you're running a retail store is all about that one guy on the top who's a store manager. If you get the store manager right, he will percolate the same thing with the rest of the people, right? There is no point of getting all superstars. If there are 5 people required, you can't get 5 superstars into the store because your cost will not permit, your business will not permit. So one of the things what we do here is all the time is, can I get the best store manager? And not kind of agree with to say that, okay, this guy out of 10 skills, he doesn't have 6 skills, 4 skills, but I'm okay, I will take him. That is something which we don't do in our business. I'm trying to upskill, upgrade people all the time. Second, empowering them, which is easily said and done. For example, I'm trying to bring in something called power of 500, which means, because I used to work with the hotels in the past. Now, when I used to work with Oberoi Hotel, I'm talking about a long time back, everybody in the service and in the front office used to have something called power of 5,000, which means you screw up a service with the customer, you need not even ask your manager, you can straight away go and upgrade the customer because you've been given to sign off 5,000 rupees without even asking anything. So which means you're going to recover out of a problem immediately. So I'm trying to bring power of 500 to retail in our business. If our people screw up something, everybody does the screw up, because there is no perfect business in the world, because we are not robo or a machine. So how you recover out of a problem is what customer would appreciate. So I'm trying to bring power of 500, which means every store manager's got the power to go sign off $500, whatever they can go and give it to the customer to make them happy.
Right.
Third, I think bring them up to the speed with all the knowledge which we have, because we only can't be talking them in the boardroom, because I keep telling this, that teams are not built in the boardrooms, teams are built outside, teams are built in the store, teams are built in the, probably when you take them for a dinner or lunch, teams are built when you invite them to your house for a dinner. That's where teams are built. So how do you upskill them, bring them up to the speed with what you really wanted? I think when you do this 2-3 things, automatically people would feel valued, automatically they would take responsibility. And then the other part we also do is we identify high pot through assessment centers, which is in nascent stages for us. Do assessment, identify high pots, For example, all good performing people should be in the high performing stores. Good performing people should be in our airport stores. So we kind of give them creme de la creme within the system, so that they paid higher, they have a lucrative job, a lucrative store. So these are some of the things I think which will keep people motivated and also kind of loyal, and also deliver what the organization wanted, which is easy, what I explained, but yes, a lot more things has to be done at the ground.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that comprehensive answer, Mr. Kalappa. That really helps a lot. We'll be taking last two questions for today. And the questions are a little similar. First question is from Pavan RR. Current required skill and knowledge, which is required to be a best fit for HRBP for retail business. This you also touched upon in one of your previous answers. And from Reshma B, since HR is considered generally a non-revenue generating department, how can we contribute more and make ourselves counted? So maybe, on the skills and what we need to be doing a lot more.
I want to give a small example. This has happened with us just day before yesterday, right? My people have asked me that I don't sell my department to my CEO when compared to all other functions. All other functions are, I have two retail business, I have a finance, I have an SEM. All this, for example, SEM is a huge cost saving business. Now, one of the things what we've done is, our business is not just about being a business partner. Our business is also being slightly more strategic, slightly more checking every status quo, asking why. If you don't ask why, you are left behind. For example, we did X crore of cost saving, right? Without compromising on the service quality, right? Now, my people have asked me that, why are you not selling it? Why are you, well, I talk about it, but I don't do a shusha the way other people do, because I said, I'm not them. So I do the way I do things. But our people know that we've saved X crore of rupees for our organization. Now tell me how many people would start thinking about in this lines, while you saying that I want to ensure my performance appraisal goes well, I bring the best talent on board. In the meantime, you're also looking at cost from every angle to see that I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about the cost cutting, I'm talking about eliminating costs which is unnecessarily being spent. Now, I think while we are not a revenue department, but if you do some of these things about adding value to the business, questioning the business, you being a party to their success and failure both, and then look at all the services, is there an opportunity for me to eliminate cost and not cost cutting? Why will people not appreciate you? Why will they not think that this is the department which is complementing all other businesses? Because the reason we are here today, not just because business has delivered, SCM has delivered on the cost, HR also has delivered on the cost, and plus various other things where they've eliminated waste. So I would probably answer that question in that fashion.
Very valid. And thank you so much, Mr. Kalappa, for this insightful answer and for all the insights that you shared today. Honestly, it's been a great, wonderful conversation, and I truly enjoyed it a lot. It's always, great to interact with people who are passionate about people, right? And you're totally giving me that vibe today. So thank you so much. And it was great to see and, exchange ideas of how we can do a lot more, from HR perspective in retail sector and in general, and providing the right kind of experience, the right kind of training, the right kind of L&D initiatives for our employees, while also contributing to the business aspect of the organization, also adding to the profitability in the business. So thank you so very much, dear Mr. Kalappa, for your insights. It was great to have you here today, and we look forward to having more such conversations with you.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for all the questions. And I hope all the audience, would have kind of gained some insights. I'm happy to contribute if there's any other way. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kalappa. And of course, huge thanks to our audience for joining us, for sharing those insights, also giving these reactions right now, sharing such sweet comments in the feedback section. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, for being here with us, and talking about HR and retail and how we can drive the business forward. We'll be back very soon with yet another interesting topic of discussion on HR, but maybe we'll talk about manufacturing or healthcare in the next session. But you will get an update from us very soon on the topic that we will be discussing next. But once again, thank you so much for being here with us. As you can see on the screen, if you have any questions, you can write to me on rakhigotham@greytip.com and we will get back to you. Also, this session will be available on our YouTube channel, so you can always go there, watch it later, and just refresh all these insights that were shared today. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us today. And thank you so much once again, Mr. Kalappa. Have a great
Thank
evening.
you, and you all have a lovely Deepavali. Thank you.
Happy Diwali, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great evening.